Exodus chapter 16, the manna and the quails. The Israelites left Elim and the entire community reached the desert of Sin. Between Elim and Sinai on the 15th day of the second month after leaving Egypt. In the desert, the whole community of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of the Lord in Egypt when we sat around vessels of meat and ate all the food we wanted, whereas you have brought us to this desert to let the whole assembly die of starvation." The Lord then said to Moses, "Now I am going to rain down bread from heaven for you. Each day the people are to gather what is needed for that day. In this way I will test them to see if they will follow my instruction or not. On the 6th day, when they prepare what they have brought in, they will find that there is twice as much as they gather each day." Then Moses and Aaron said to the people of Israel, "In the evening you will realize that it was the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord. For he has heard your grumbling against him, because who are we that you should grumble against us? In the evening the Lord will give you meat to eat, and in the morning bread to satisfy your hunger. Because the Lord heard your grumbling, you are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord, for who are we?" Then Moses directed Aaron to say to the whole community of Israel, "Draw near to the Lord, for he has heard your complaints." It happened that as Aaron was speaking to the full assembly of the people of Israel, they turned towards the desert and saw the glory of the Lord in the midst of the cloud. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "I have heard the complaints of the people of Israel. Speak to them and say, between dusk and dawn you will eat meat, and in the morning you will have bread to your heart's content. Then you shall realize that I am the Lord your God." In the evening quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning all the place around the camp was wet with dew. When the dew lifted, there was on the surface of the desert a thin crust of hoarfrost. The people of Israel, on seeing it, said to one another, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Moses told them, "It is the bread that the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Gather it according to the amount each one eats, about 1 omer per person, and according to the number of persons each of you has in his tent." This the people of Israel did. They gathered it, some more, others less. But when they measured it with an omer, he that had gathered more did not have too much, while the man who had gathered less did not have too little. Each one had as much as he needed. And Moses said to them, "Let no one leave any of it till the morning." But they did not listen to Moses, and some of them left it till morning. It bred worms and became foul, and Moses was angry with them. Every morning each one gathered as much as he could eat, and when the sun grew hot, it melted. On the 6th day they gathered a double amount of food, 2 omers each, and the leaders of the community came and told Moses about it. He said to them, "This is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is a day of complete rest, a Sabbath sacred to the Lord. Bake today what you have to bake, and boil what you have to boil, and you shall put aside what is left over to be kept till the next day." So they put it aside until morning as Moses had ordered, and its smell was not foul, and it was free of worms. And Moses said, "Eat it today, for this day is a Sabbath in honor of the Lord. Today you will not find it in the fields. For 6 days you will gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will be none." Some of the people went out on the 7th day, but found nothing. Then the Lord said to Moses, "How long will you refuse to obey my commands and my laws? The Lord has given you the day of rest. That is why on the 6th day he gives you food for 2 days. Let everyone stay where he is, and let no one go out of his place on the seventh day. And so the people rested on the seventh day. The people of Israel called this food manna. It was white like coriander seed, and it tasted like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, "This is what the Lord commanded. Take an omer of manna and keep it for future generations, to let them see the bread I gave you to eat in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt." Then Moses said to Aaron, "Take a jar and fill it with an omer of manna and place it before the Lord of your descendants." Accordingly, Aaron placed it before the testimony to be preserved as the Lord had commanded Moses. The people of Israel ate the manna until they came to an inhabited land. They ate it for 40 years up to the time they reached the border of Canaan. An omer is a tenth of an ephah. Exodus chapter 17, Water from the rock. The whole community of the people of Israel moved on from the desert of Sin, going from place to place as the Lord commanded, and encamped at Rephidim. But there was no water for the people to drink. The people contended with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." But Moses replied, "Why do you find fault with me? Why do you put the Lord to the test?" But the people thirsted for water there and grumbled against Moses. "Why did you make us leave Egypt to have us die of thirst with our children and with our livestock?" So Moses cried to the Lord, "What shall I do with the people? They are almost ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Go ahead of the people and take with you some of the elders of Israel. Take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will stand there before you on the rock at Horeb. You will strike the rock, and water will flow from it, so that the people may drink." Moses did this in the presence of the elders of Israel. The place was called Massah and Meribah because of the contention of the Israelites, and because they put the Lord to the test, saying, "Is the Lord with us or not?" Victory over Amalek. When the Israelites were at Rephidim, the Amalekites came and attacked them. So Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of our men and go out to wage war on the Amalekites in the morning. As for me, I will stand with God's staff in my hand at the top of the hill." Joshua fought against the Amalekites as Moses had directed, while Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. When Moses raised his hands, the Israelites had the advantage, but when he lowered them, the Amalekites would have the advantage. As Moses' arms grew weary, they placed a stone for him to sit on, while Aaron and Hur, on either side of him, held up his arms, which remained steadily raised until sunset, and Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. The Lord then instructed Moses, "Write this in a book as something to be remembered, and make it known in the hearing of Joshua, that I will completely wipe out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven." After that, Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner," for he said, "Raise up the banner of the Lord. The Lord is at war with the Amalekites from generation to generation." Exodus chapter 18, Meeting of Jethro and Moses. Jethro, the priest of Midian, father-in-law of Moses, heard all that God had done for Moses and for his people Israel when the Lord brought Israel out of Egypt. After Moses had sent away Zipporah his wife, Jethro his father-in-law received her and her 2 sons. The first Moses had called Gershom, for he said, "I have been a stranger in a foreign land," and the other Eleazar, for he said, "The God of my father came to my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh." So Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses, came with Moses' wife and sons, to the desert where he had encamped at the mountain of God. Moses was told, "Your father-in-law Jethro is here. he who has come with your wife and her 2 sons. So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and bowing low before him, he kissed him. And then when each had inquired about the other's health, they entered the tent. Moses then narrated to his father-in-law all that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for the sake of Israel, and all the hardship they had met with on the way, and how the Lord had saved them. Jethro rejoiced at all the goodness the Lord had shown to Israel in freeing them from the power of Egypt, and he said, "Blessed be the Lord who has delivered you from the power of the Egyptians and Pharaoh, and has rescued the people from the grip of Egypt. I realize now that the Lord is greater than all the gods, for he delivered his people from the Egyptians who dealt tyrannically with them." Then Jethro brought a burnt offering and other sacrifices to God, and Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to share this meal with Moses' father-in-law in the presence of God. Appointment of judges. The next day, Moses took his seat to administer justice for the people who stood in front of him from morning till evening. His father-in-law, seeing all the work of Moses for the people, said to him, "What is this you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit and judge while all the people stand in front of you from morning till evening?" Moses answered, "It is the people who come to me to know God's will. When there is a dispute, they bring it to me to decide between the two parties, and I teach them God's decrees and decisions." Jethro replied, "What you are doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out, for the work is too heavy and you cannot do it alone. Now listen to the advice I am going to give you, and God be with you. You will be the people's representative before God and bring their cases to Him. You will clarify to them the statutes and decisions and make known to them the way they must follow and what they must do. But choose from among the people capable, God-fearing, and reliable men who hate a bribe, and appoint them as leaders for groups of 1,000, 100, 50, and 10. They will administer justice at all times, bringing to your attention only those cases of major importance, while they deal with all those of lesser importance. That will ease your burden, since they will be sharing it with you. If you do this, God will guide you, and you will be able to cope with this duty, and all these people will return to their places contented." Moses followed his father-in-law's advice and did as he said. He chose capable men from among the Israelites and placed them as leaders for groups of 1,000, 100, 50, and 10. They administered justice at all times, bringing difficult cases to Moses, but judging all other cases of lesser importance themselves. Then Moses let his father-in-law return to his own country. Psalm chapter 30, Thanksgiving for a Cure. I extol you, O Lord, for you have rescued me from the depths. You have not allowed my enemies to gloat over me. O Lord my God, I called to you for help, and you healed me. O Lord, you brought me up from the grave and saved me from going down to the pit. Sing to the Lord, O ye his saints, give thanks to his holy name. For his anger lasts only a little while, but his kindness all through life. Tears may tarry for the night, but rejoicing comes with the dawn. Once in prosperity I said, I shall not be troubled. In your goodwill, O Lord, you made me a stronghold, but when you hid your face, I was terrified. To you, O Lord, I called, to the Lord I begged for mercy. What good would there be in my destruction, in my going down to the pit? Would dust give you praise? Would it proclaim your faithfulness? Hear, O Lord, and have mercy on me. O Lord, be my protector. But now you have turned my mourning into rejoicing. You have taken off my sackcloth and wrapped me in the garments of gladness. And so my soul praises you without ceasing, O Lord my God. Forever will I give you thanks. Matthew chapter 20, verse 1 to 16. The workers in the vineyard. The kingdom of God is like this. A landowner went early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay the workers the usual daily wage of 1 denarius a day, and he sent them to his vineyard. He went out again at about the third time, and as he saw men idle in the square, he said to them, "You two go to my vineyard, and I will pay you what is just." So they went. The owner went out at the 6th hour and again at the 9th hour, and he did the same. Finally he went out at the 11th hour and saw others standing there. So he said to them, "Why do you stand idle the whole day?" They answered, "Because no one has hired us." The master said, "Go you also and work in my vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his manager, "Call the workers and pay them their wage, beginning with the last and ending with the first." Those who had come to work at the last hour turned up and were given a denarius each. When it was the turn of the first, they thought they would receive more, but they too received 1 denarius each. So on receiving it, they began to grumble against the landowner. They said, "This last hardly worked an hour, yet you have treated them the same as us who have endured the day's burden and heat." The owner said to the one of them, "Friend, I have not been unjust with you. Did we not agree on 1 denarius a day? So take what is yours and go. I want to give to the last as much as I give to you. Do I not have the right to do as I do, to do as I please with my money? Why are you envious when I am generous? So will it be. The last will be the first will be the last."